Greetings from Snake Mountain Boatworks on Wednesday, December 20, 2023. I thought I would spend some time going through the process that we've gone through to get to this point in installing a true 5200 bottom on our 1955 17-foot Chris Craft Sportsman. At this point, the new bottom is installed. We've gone through several cases of white 5200 in the process of installing the inner skin, which is comprised of a series of about 6-inch wide Meranti Aquatech plywood strips installed on a bias, as was typical of Chris Craft, as well as many of the other marks during this period. And then we fabricated and fit, first dry fit, and then screwed in on a temporary basis all of the exterior planks. These are 3/8, again by about 7-inch Meranti FAS grade quarter sawn mahogany. So here's the process. You get the boat flipped over, which can be lots of fun, and then the entire bottom must be removed down to the bottom frames. And then you want to inspect all of the frames. That includes sanding off any paint. This boat, some creative soul had painted all of the frames with a hideous aqua-colored semi-gloss. It looked all the world like house paint. So we had to sand all of that off to bare wood. We cleaned any grease, and there really was none to speak of on this boat. Then we sealed all of the frames with 4 coats of cold formula, Smith's clear penetrating epoxy sealer. The CPS comes in both a warm formula and a cold formula, and we've found over the years and have standardized on the cold formula because it penetrates more deeply in our tests and it cures much, much more quickly. So those frames are then primed with Petit Tie Coat primer. And then if it's a Chris Craft, we apply a couple of coats of Sandusky Chris Craft bilge paint. So that's all done. And then it's time to begin installing the inner skin, which we dry fit, of course, and then bed in 5200 as we put it down. And Joe has innovated this time something really critical. These are frames. In between the frames runs about a 3/4 by 5/8 white oak batten. And in the past, and what is typical, even Danenberg's book has us doing it this way, is we hold off on the battens until everything's in, and then some poor soul gets to live beneath the boat, buttering each batten with 5200 as the guy outside sinks screws into it. It's just a terrible job. And no matter how hard you try, you end up with mahogany 5200 all over the place. So this time, Joe temporarily nailed all the battens in place using little copper ring shank nails, bedding the battens in 5200, so they were there. Everything was marked. We knew where they were, knew where all the screws had to go, and it became a one-step process. And the guy that was inside could go get a beer because we didn't need him. Once we've got the inner skin on, we apply 4 more coats of CPES to all of that planking, and then we begin this process of applying and laying down the final planks. Somebody commented once, why do you use so many screws? Why not just one on each side and one in the middle? Well, that's because this is the bottom of the boat. This is what's keeping you off the bottom of the lake. We want it to be bomb-proof. And this bottom, go ahead, flip your boat over with a standard traditional bottom and whack the bottom with the heel of your hand, all right? And you will not get this nice crisp report. This bottom will not deflect. Once we've got everything in place, it's time to start fairing, and our fairing compound of choice is 3M Marine Premium Filler. We've gone through, what, about half a gallon? Yeah. At least, maybe closer to a gallon in fairing this bottom. It involves lots of patience. I guarantee you want to wear latex gloves or something, otherwise you will end up with fingers and palms of hands and everything else all loaded up with 3M 5200. So everywhere there's any kind of a declivity, we fair it with the 5200. This is a long and tedious process with very few rewards other than what we finally have before us now. So several times when we're applying the 3M on several layers, we'll go through and sand it. We use 80 grit with an orbital sander. We don't care about cross-grain scratches on the bottom of the boat. In fact, keeping this bottom pretty rough is a requirement, a prerequisite for the primer that we will be using, really tying tightly to the wood, adhering to the wood tightly. So at this point, we've finished the fairing. We sanded everything once again. All of the high points are taken care of. I've had multiple questions on how wide should these seams be? Well, they should be this wide. In other words, they should just be strings. Those of you who have asked, is it okay if I've got 7/16, 3/8 wide spaces between my bottom planks? No, it's not okay. You need to fit your bottom planks as we've done here. Keep those seams tight, and you'll have a bottom that will last you 50 years. So now, this bottom has received a final 4 coats of cold formula, Smith's clear penetrating epoxy sealer, and we are just about ready to begin priming her. So I will take a step aside now, and we'll start priming, and we'll continue this video at that point.